Yeah.
There we go. Let's do this. Let's try this again with music, with audio. Holy cow. It's going to be a long day. But welcome everyone to Cisco Virtual Kitchen. I was just explaining our intro is supposed to have music, so my apologies on that. We'll have that later on today. But Charlotte, welcome as my co-host today for Cisco Canada's virtual golf show Palooza, because we got lots in store today, folks. But welcome, Charlotte.
Oh, thank you so much. Really, really excited to be here. I can't wait to get into all the amazing products we're going to see from the vendors today. And of course, Matt. Oh, I can't wait. Matt about Matt. So it's going to be a great day. And talking golf, what a better day here in Calgary. We've got snow. So really gets you excited to get out onto the golf course and see that sunshine come up this weekend. So can't wait to get out there. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we got lots of things, folks. We got 3 different shows after today's talk. We got a pregame here with Matt Rolfe. Obviously, I believe, and Matt may argue this, but I think he is Canada's top leadership coach when it comes to hospitality in Canada. He's also a total rock star. And I can't wait to bring him into the studio here in a second. But for today, folks, please sit back. We got a long day. We got 3 different shows, one at 11 o'clock, one at 1 p.m., and one at 3 p.m. Eastern time. We have over 16 vendors going to be showing products. These are all fresh new idea products for golf courses. It's not going to be the typical greasy stuff that we always see. We've challenged these vendors to really step it up and show ideas that are really going to fit the millennials and the younger people that are going to be going to golf courses. Obviously, older people are conscious of what they're eating as well. So there's going to be a lot of those products you're going to see today. We've also integrated a QR code system into the thing, so you can take your phone, take a picture of the QR code. It's going to give you information, the codes, everything you need to do to purchase those products if it's something that you're looking to order or put on your next order or on your menu. You'll have all that information today. So very excited about this, Charlotte. I am so pumped about today because golf courses, obviously, a lot of things have been changed in their world. A lot of things are probably going to continue to change. And I'm sure Matt's going to share some of that insights with us. So are you ready to bring in Matt?
Absolutely. Let's do this.
All right, here we go. So folks, here is Matt. I forgot we have a producer now, so I don't have to touch all the buttons. It's just so awesome.
I saw you reaching. Yeah.
I know. I was going for it. Welcome, Matt, to Cisco's Virtual Kitchen, our golf show today.
And thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Pre-game with Matt. Matt, you excited?
Pre-game.
Yeah, I was going to say it's kind of like the tailgate party of the golf show, but I don't think golf courses do tailgate. They should.
No, unfortunately.
A little bit of pre-gaming, but yeah.
They should.
I'm ready.
They should.
Awesome. So Matt, do you want to share a little bit about you and what you do and stuff like that? And then we're going to get into some questions around golf courses and leadership and what they need to be working on this year. We'll share a little bit about who you are.
I'll give a really quick overview and we can get into the content that will really help the audience. But as Jay said, I'm a hospitality leadership coach. I've spent my entire career in the restaurant industry, started on the supplier side and then shifting over to having my own companies. And essentially I work all day, every day with leaders and leadership teams from restaurants, hotels, golf courses, private clubs to help them get clear on their strategy. But most importantly, especially in a post-pandemic, and I use that word lightly, post-pandemic world, is how do we engage, retain, and attract the right people, and then to have them do the right things, at our golf courses. And that's what I'm most passionate about. I'll bring that energy here today, but I look forward to having a great conversation that hopefully helps these operators, manage the increase in capacity and the increased demand on courses that we're seeing across Canada.
Now, is there a big, I've heard a lot of people over the time, is golf courses going down in popularity, Matt, from what you're seeing out there, or are they getting busier?
We get a chance to work with some different courses and work with some groups that exclusively focus on supporting the golf industry. And through the pandemic, as we look at the statistics, there's been an extreme boom in demand for golf. And I know that the courses will have the exact numbers, but I look at it from an operations perspective. So more people came back to golf courses, but we actually came with higher expectations. Our existing members have increased expectation because we're not interacting socially as much anymore, and that social interaction came from the club experience. And if you're not a private club, you might have had an increase in green fees, so more traffic through the location, which is great for operations. It's great for revenue, but it can be very demanding, and it can also almost be crushing at times for some of the operators I've talked to on the staff, on the leadership. So how do they sustain, and then how do they meet the needs of their guests and of their members? So from everything that I've seen, golf is on a significant rise. Depending on the country, we've seen high single digits to double digits, but it's on the way up. And I think I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Awesome. Charlotte, I'm going to throw over to you to ask Matt a question or two here while I get everything sent over on Facebook and LinkedIn. But I have so many questions, Matt. This may take a lot longer. We might be here all day with you, but I have another question just quickly on this, because I've got so many things I've read and stuff about golf courses and the menus and the changes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Are we seeing that shift into healthier options right now, Matt, from what you're seeing out there with golf courses?
And I think that, we've had a little bit of pre-discussion, and you even framed it in your opening, right? There's new expectations in general in hospitality. So we can focus on courses, restaurants, hotels. There's a shift in what the guest expects or what they're looking and what they want. And there's what I'm seeing in my experience is a change in diversity of menus. So we meet the needs of our different menus, our different guests and our different members. So if we look at courses now, we might have definitely 3 active generations and possibly 4 active generations, which have different needs. So previously we could go to our members and our guests with some options, but now we have to meet the needs of attracting a younger golfer onto the course, having potentially what we might consider our core, and having our legacy golfers, usually the foundation of the club. They're more active, but they do have different needs. So I think the opportunity here is to really think about who is our guest or member avatar, and there's not one anymore. And I encourage my clients to focus on 3. So what are the 3 core members or guests getting to our clubs, and what do they want and need? And through our menu design and our menu experience and delivery, how do we meet their needs so we get them back to our courses more often or more invested into our property?
Wow. Charlotte, I'm going to throw it over to you.
No, that's great. And yeah, I was very curious about what those healthy options are going to look like moving forward. And that is part of almost kind of that inflation piece when I think about it from a chef's perspective of purchasing actual product. With the plant-based products, we're seeing, there's still a little bit of a higher cost as we're coming in with the plant-based products versus the whole beefs or the whole chicken and whatnot. How do you think that's going to affect the courses when it comes to that inflation piece on purchasing a plant-based versus a full protein?
Sure. And I think, what I'll relate back to, and for our pregame talk here today, what I really want to focus on is, the psychology of the operation or the mindset of the operator. So, the vendors that you have coming through, the Cisco team are really the experts on the food side, but really what's underlying there is we have increased food costs. So we have items that are in higher demand that have a higher cost than traditional products. So if we're going to put these items on our menu, we're going to need to possibly change our price points. So in a member situation or just in a guest situation, what we have to look at is what's the value, what's the experience that we're going to create. So not just the food on the plate, but the experience, whether it's ease of purchase so they can move through the round quickly, or whether it's sitting in the clubhouse. If naturally our price points need to go up, which they do. Right now, we do need to revisit price. But the conversation is more around how do I deliver value to my guest, which makes the price point less of an issue. If we're increasing by $2 and giving an average or transactional experience, then what often happens is people start to talk about price. But a lot of my favorite restaurants or courses that have great menu options, what I remember is the experience that was created in the environment, driven by a staff member, a manager or staff member, through a great product that's coming from the back of house. But I think what we have to decide if we have to increase prices, and some of you may need to increase prices significantly, meaning high single digit, you may need to look at that change. What's going to change in the quality of the product and how we played it? What's going to change in the experience? How are we going to take price less out of the equation? Some of my favorite dining experiences, or some of the top restaurants in Canada that are seen as expensive, people don't talk about price because it's an experience. And we have the opportunity. Sorry, go ahead, Jim.
I was just going to jump in there really quick because I agree with you. Like, I see it all the time. People are, and this isn't new. Like, I think some of the things, because cheesy plug for Matt's book. But
thank you.
Matt also described in his book and things like that is that like a lot of these things that we're dealing with now post, let's say, I don't know if I can say that word, but post COVID, but is we were going through these challenges before, right? Like we've been talking with restaurants on changing menu prices for years, and it's been a struggle. Has the pandemic or anything really made people sit back and go, yeah, this is a little harder or easier from what we're dealing with right now in the conversations you're having, Matt, out there on that psychology part when it comes to restaurants adjusting their menus?
Yeah. And let me break down, because psychology part might be a big word, and ones that lands
it's
for
a big
me.
It's a big word for at 7:14.
Yeah, it's 7:14 in Alberta, and it's
Alberta,
not. I don't mean psychology. We're not trying to go too deep here, but what I sit down with my clients and say, if we have to look at menu engineering or price points, what's the real block here? So is it, if we increase prices, our members will be upset, they might not come back to the course, and it causes more of an issue? That is a psychology issue. It's not actually, it's not logical, but I get it. Let me first say, my whole career, we've helped from my early days at Labatt Breweries. We've been doing, 17 years ago, we've been doing price consulting for our clients. And I've literally worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of operators on their price points, but it usually is the mindset of how is the person purchasing going to react? Yeah. And there's a percentage of your course membership that's going to be upset about price point. No matter, you could put your prices down and they're going to be upset. You could keep them the same. They're part of the community.
So true. It's so true, Matt. And it's the regulars, right? It's the ones all the time. It's always been $12.99, right? Like, and you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So how do you get past that business owner hesitancy and that intimidation to change those prices? Because with, being in the past working with the hospitality industry, you're raising your prices an average of 3 to 6% per year, just to keep up with inflation and to keep up with food costs, to keep up with labor cost. And with all the shortages we're having right now, and of course the inflation we're dealing with right now, how do we break those barriers and really have that business owner understand the need? And there is a need for it to actually set those prices properly.
100%. And I think the key thing that we want to do first is we want to find out what's in the way of us increasing price. And I say this really honestly, and to hear people and for the operators to have the discussion with their team. So they might say, we don't want to increase prices on a core product because we're going to get member frustration or feedback. So the first thing, if that's the core objection, if that's what's in the way from us making the decision, then what can we do for that core member or guest to meet their needs? So there might be a special price point. There might be a product offering for that 10% or 20% of your membership that is extremely price sensitive. Because what it does, it allows us to focus on, traditionally, in my experience, and this might be not your course, but the patterns that I see, then we can focus on what's the right pricing strategy for the remaining 80%. So it's usually the people that are louder get the attention, and we want to meet their needs. Our core price sensitive guests and members are critically important. They've been there. They probably golf 3-5 days a week, if not more. Mm-hmm. So we want to create a strategy and go to them and say, we have to go this direction. And here's what we're creating for our core, for our potentially challenger or friction or core member. But the next stage is we want to then get away from the emotion is, what is the impact of the price increases? So Charlotte, what you said, if we go up 3% based on our projected annual sales, what does that equate to in net profit? And all we're paying for in most cases, and this is where the numbers work, because sometimes we need a push or a nudge. All you're paying for is potentially increased product costs. So that extra $1 or $2 or 73 cents is the bulk of it. In most cases, is somewhere between 80 and 40% net profit on the increase. We're in a margin that literally, we're in an industry that literally across Canada, putting in golf courses on the F&B side, makes less than 5% net profit. So if we can start to take the price increases, factor product costs, but traditionally it's not taking too much more staff, labor, lighting, insurance, rent, all of those pieces. And I think from our side, it's, we want to be running busy clubhouses, but we also want to make sure that, whatever your position is, cost neutral, or if they're designed to drive a profit, we want to make sure that we have a profitable strategy. So I think once we isolate the objections, then we can remove the roadblock and move forward. And they might take 2% because they're not comfortable with the inflation at 3%. They might take 7%. But I think what I heard you say there, Charlotte, is it is a necessity if we want to run profitable businesses based on the transitions in price point. And if you go to restaurants, there's never a better time in our industry than moving price than right now, because the market, the media is supporting. Like if we turn the news on, like we're going to hit the record highest gas prices in Ontario today. The consumer, the guest, the member knows that prices are going up because they're being educated. Everything's going up. So if they've got to pay more for gas, more for the bottle of water, you go to a restaurant, or order from a third-party delivery, the prices are significantly up. So if we're ever going to take a move, respectfully, now's the time. But I really do encourage you to say, what's the experience? What people crave? I can't wait to get out a golf course so I can connect with my community, so I can interact with people. And that's what we want to remember.
Matt, do you find that? So we've seen in the industry through the pandemic, and I think also from your book, is that I've taken some of the things of looking at what has COVID in a sense given us as a positive, right? Like what are those good things that we're getting from COVID? And I one of the things that I see, and I see this with restaurants, is this whole digital menu world we live in now, where we can adjust menus each week, we can adjust pricing, we can adjust on the fly in a sense without going to that old school print menu, which maybe some golf courses will still do. But I see that as an advantage in a way, because we can change pricing, bring in new products, right? Like, do you see that as almost that benefit in a sense that we can adjust? Because I always believe, I could be wrong here, is when I, like doing menus over the bazillion years I've been doing this, is I always looked at how can we also decrease pricing on certain areas, because everyone wants to go up. But I look at some things on, okay, there's healthy margin in this item. Can we drop it a little bit, focus on it, do a little PR on it, a little promo? It's a unique item. No one else has it. Can we focus on that, right? Bring a little attention to that while we bump up those other things. Like play the QSR kind of mind game in a sense. Do you see that? Have people done that? Or is that something that people should be looking at moving forward?
And I think like what I heard you read, and I've seen some examples, even in your show yesterday, is how do we be more creative? How do we challenge our menu engineering or our costing? And I think that we need to revisit it. And what I hear most is it's, for a lot of operators, even with good technology, menu costing can still be a little bit time consuming, and there's a lot of moving parts, but it's a necessary exercise. So I think we want to be creative in our plating, creative in our costing, creating in our price points. But one thing that I always go back to, when I was a supplier, people would come to me and say, I need a cheaper price. I need more support. And if anyone's listening from Labatt, because I need more support per keg. Sorry, Labatt team, but that was the conversations happening back then. But what
we
I would
can talk about beer now.
We get it today when it comes to produce.
It's all about beer. Yeah.
Here's what I say to my clients. We're retailers. We need to turn food and beverage into the optimal amount of retail dollars, or we don't exist. We're no different than your local Home Depot, your Walmart, your local corner retailer, if there's a brand that you go to and visit. But we have a different delivery system than walking through your major mass big box store or shopping mall. But it is our responsibility. And I know we might have the revenue from golf.
Yeah.
So that golf is facilitated. But what I'm hearing from most boards, leadership teams, executives is F&B, where it could run at a loss in the past, in most cases now is being expected to at least break even. And that transition's happened over the last 3 to 5 years. Some people can still, if you're a high membership fee, you can still run your F&B operation at a loss, but as long as it's within 10, you don't want to be running at 20% loss when you should really be running at 7. But our opportunity, our responsibility is to turn food and beverage into the optimal amount of retail dollars, because we can't cost cut ourselves to profitability. We can be responsible, and we can be creative, and we can have some fun. And I think that's what today's all about. What's new and exciting that we can bring to our cores. But I think the opportunity now is how do we get really great products, innovative, that our guests want and demand, and deliver it in a way that excites them, so the price point becomes a little bit less caution. I can tell you, I get a chance to golf quite a bit. I couldn't tell you a menu price. It's about experience and connection for me as my guest avatar. I want something exciting.
But a positive opportunity that did come out of COVID, and I kind of look at it as a positive, is that it gave businesses an opportunity to reevaluate and reinvent themselves. As we know, the takeout was just massive. It just absolutely exploded. And the way the trends are going, delivery is going to continue. They say that most restaurants will be completely delivery. At least 27 to 32% of restaurants will be strictly delivery in North America. So it's really trending that way. But I'm curious, Matt, what you think about the transient individual, because with the golf courses, you have, of course, the private clubs, which are membership strict, and then, of course, you have the public courses. How do we attract those individuals to stay? You've talked a lot about that experience, that atmosphere, that quality. How are we keeping those individuals, especially at the public courses, to stay for a bite to eat, to hang out in the clubhouse, to purchase something at the halfway house? What are those key elements that will entice them to do that?
And I think, from my side, the service experience for the courses that we worked with, and I do focus on hospitality, but I think it starts from pulling into the course, bag drop, pro shop, walking into, getting a Gatorade or something, set up your round. Like, there's all these different touch points as we move along inside of a course. And what Jay shared earlier, I thought was brilliant. Like, what's happened during the pandemic is technology has accelerated for our industry. We've usually lagged behind, some industries as being late adopters to technology. But right now, if we look at what are our touch points, so from the bag drop point, are we recommending to somebody in a simple, non-intrusive way that we want them to stay, for a term we use with, of course, within the 19th hole, come sit on the patio, but how are we positioning the reason to stay? And a lot of courses are pushing significantly shorter round times, which leave the opportunity to, how do we get a group to stay, which adds 20, 30, 17, $42 to their average spend? And I think from our side, can we use technology prompts? Can we use a human connection as if it's your golf cart person traveling the course? Are they recommending that somebody check out your clubhouse, your patio, your offer, that you have the best plant-based X product here? If that's something they're interested in, they just have to try it.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead, Jim.
I was just going to say, before we get into, because Matt, you're going down a perfect road here on the conversations around different ideas and things like that. I'm going to get into that, but let's break for a quick commercial. We're going to come back. And then, Matt, I want to ask you, I got 17 things people can do. I want to ask you a few of those for golf courses when it gets into what you're just talking about right here. But let's break for a quick commercial, and then we'll be back with Matt.
Looking for resources and ideas to help your business? Check out Sysco's Business Boosters for our top 10 strategies that have helped food service operators survive and thrive despite adversity. From learning how to transform your restaurant dining area into a pop-up shop, off-premise packaging solutions, to working with our menu consultants to optimize your menu, our top 10 list of strategies are sure to help you thrive. If you are looking for ways to drive traffic to your business and generate additional revenue, it might be time to check out our Business Boosters. Visit Sysco.ca or speak to your Cisco representative to learn more.
There we go. Well, welcome everyone back to Cisco's Virtual Kitchen. Pre-game with Matt. And Matt is obviously, I think, Canada's top leadership. I'm going to keep, I hope this is okay. I keep telling you everyone this, but you are the top leadership coach in hospitality in Canada. And we have Matt on the show today before our golf show. Our virtual golf show starts today with a whole bunch of vendors and products and everything else. So you have to stay tuned. It's 11, 1, and 3 p.m. Eastern time all day with Charlotte. And Charlotte, I apologize. You're going to,
No,
wait till
love
the
it.
last show.
Love to
Wait
be
till the
here.
last show. Anyways, but Matt, I want to get back into this conversation around what people can do when it comes to golf courses and this technology, menus, what's adjusting, where are we going? But I was doing some Googling and found a whole bunch of different ideas and things here. But I want to kind of go through some really power questions and really get into some of these things. Just really quick, what you think about some of these things that are coming up in the golf course world.
Sure.
Okay, you ready? Are you ready?
I was worried about when you said you were Googling, but let's see what you went to Google to give up with.
Sorry. Google, buddy. That's what happens. You get on these shows. I do a little Googling. Anyways, healthy options, yay or nay, golf courses.
From my experience, absolutely. Like I think the demand and trends, and we can look at courses, isolate them, or just look at general hospitality experiences from hotels to restaurants. The needs and wants of definitely we can say demographics or generations are changing, but overall it's a trend. It's not going to leave that trend outside the golf course environment. So I think you have to look at what does that mean for you and be best at what you decide to go down, whatever you decide to add to your menu, be proud of it, really celebrate it. And if you're going to go that direction, you need to make passionate recommendations. Your service staff should get a chance to try it, taste it, understand it, so they can recommend it. So we don't just depend on menu positioning. So absolutely. Exactly. But what's the vehicle to move it?
Second, and that means not just salads, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to do a little work here. You can work with Cisco's teams, you can work with whatever team, work with your chefs and stuff like that. When it comes to ideas to really help boost up some healthy options, not just salads, because people typically, I see that, well, we got a salad on the menu, it's fine. You got to do more than that, folks, today, especially with millennials, because they'll Google healthy options. If you don't have them, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Second one, special diets, yay or nay, having special diet items on your menu, keto, gluten-free, all that stuff.
I think it comes down to understanding, again, your core guest avatar, because we could blanket and different courses have different membership, but I would assume in a high price private membership club, you're going to have needs of members that are based on the membership fees that they're paying. We need to meet their expectations and their needs. So the way that I would position that is to really have a conversation about who our core guest and member is, what do they want and need, and how do we deliver it? So I wouldn't make the just assumption that we need it because we heard it, because what happens is it can go on the menu and then not move. It's just with intention. Who are we designing this product to provide an experience? And I would create, we've even created an image. This is Dave. We all know Dave. Dave wants this product. We've got 500 Daves. Let's make sure when we see Dave come through, we recommend this product. I know that's talking quick, but
no, that's perfect, Matt. But that's what you're doing. You're making us think about what we should be doing. So it's not, this instant I see it on Google or I see the trend pop up and you're like, oh, I got to do all this. I think to Matt's point here, and Matt, maybe I'm wrong here, but you really, and I love this is why I love working with you, is the fact that you have to think about these things, folks. You can't just change things instantly because you read it or you feel it. Do some research, because you could maybe going, I got to have a gluten-free item on here, and only a few people need it, and then your costs are sitting there and you're wasting real estate on your menu, or your costs are going up because you're carrying all these products for just a handful of people, right? Very interesting. Another question for you, Matt. Sustainable products on your menu. Golf courses.
So here's kind of the theme of what my job is to do as a coach. And it took me, to be honest, my vulnerability to those listening, it took me about 5 years in my coaching career to figure this out. My job as a coach is to convince most people that I support, leaders and leadership teams, to do less, and to do less incredibly well, because most teams are overcommitted, they're over capacity, and we're based on the challenges of the pandemic, whether it made you busier or slower, we're living in a reactive world, and I say that respectfully. But on our side, what Jay just said is, what are we going to do, and what are we going to be best at? What are we going to be proud of? What are we just going to put on the menu? What is our design behind these with intention? What's our execution focused strategy? So how do we actually move this forward to meet the need of a member, So they're happier, so they come back more frequently, and we're not hitting their credit card just with a spend that they have to spend, that they're in with people they care about to have more members. So it's a cycle. But I think right now, what I would try to convince everybody of, there is more opportunity than everybody watching this can wrap their arms around in 2022 and 2023. What's going to lead to the most success is being selective, being critical. And for your leadership teams, there's power in saying, yes, we fully understand the need there, but we're going to say no to that this year so we can be great over here. And I don't want to put that in the box of menu options or specialty products, but I think it's choice in the direction of your goals. And if we commit to 22 things, we know that we will probably not do any of them at an excellent level. This isn't judgment of you. This is normal leadership coaching, and there's statistics to support it. But on our side is, what can you be best at? What should you focus on this year to get your operation the results that you want and deserve? And unfortunately, that starts with saying no, but it creates so much power and positivity when your team hears it, because they already feel overwhelmed and over capacity in most cases.
Charlotte, I'm going to let you go in on this
because
one.
I got the same Google you do, so I'm there too.
Are you Googling that too?
Matt,
what do you find? What do you find, like leadership and stuff like that? Is the leadership getting younger at golf courses when and you find that their style is changing, or do we have some of the older leaders still leading golf courses, and their mindsets are a little bit different than that millennial leadership? Mm-hmm. Do you see that still?
I think we're because what's happening is we're getting older, right? So they're not, the management might not be necessarily.
But we're getting older. Thanks, Matt.
Sorry, JV and you are getting older, and I did put some dye in my hair.
Avery, make his mic mute. And he does that again.
You just muted my mic.
Still 22. I am still 22.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we did talk about that earlier today, which I love. Yes. But I think the management styles have changed. So, what happened is our industry had an absolute need to continue to move forward or advance how we communicate inside of any hospitality operation. And based on the pandemic, mental health became more of a conversation. Communication, consistency, expectations, and goals is what Gen Y and Gen Z expect, need for them to feel engaged with their workplace, but for us as leaders also to get the most performance out of them. So I think what's happening now is we just have different generations with different expectations in a course. So if you have a Gen X leader who's never been recognized and has fought through, being, yelled at, pushed at, and it worked for them. And that's my generation. I got yelled at, pushed at, things thrown at me. I don't mind it, but that behavior is long gone. But what we felt in that is we don't necessarily actively searching points of positive recognition. We're still looking at, here's 200 members came through this event, 3 complained about their dish, and we're going to go focus on the 3, but we had 197 great experiences. So I think the shift now is what you got as a leader might not necessarily be what we need to deliver. And our job as leaders is to be there for our people. So what's the experience? What's our promise to our people? And how do we lead? It's not what they need to change. A question I asked, and I had a session yesterday, what do you need to change as a leader in your operation to get you the results you want and deserve, and to be there to support your people? Our job as leaders isn't to get them to do what we want. It's for us to support them with clarity, direction, and support.
So Matt, does that tie in then when you hear those conversations all the time? Is like, oh, these young people just don't get it. It's not really them, it's us, right? Yeah. In a sense.
Well, yes, I think there is different expectations, and if we expect for them to, operate as we do, then I think we're at a stalemate, because we're not going to find our generation to continue to fill these entry level roles in our courses. So I think it's understanding the biggest thing. If that's a challenge, a leadership team talks, and I get it and I understand it. It's stepping back and figuring why are they acting the way that they are. There's a reason why they're asking for clarity. There's a reason why they expect recognition. It's not your fault, but it is your problem if you don't address it. So on our side is we have to step back and figure, what do they want and need, and how do we deliver it? Because I think Gen Y and Gen Z is one of the most powerful management and leadership generations we've ever seen. If you create clarity, coaching, and support. If you don't, they'll rattle inside your course, they'll create disruption, and they'll leave and go work somewhere else. And like the turnover rates through COVID are north of 200%. Your management turnover is one of the highest expenses your course has that's not currently measured on your P&L.
Okay, Matt. So Like that blows my mind. I don't know if you were blown there a little bit, Charlotte, but I was blown
Just
away.
just a little bit. Yeah.
Just a little bit, hey? Like, so Matt, can you share then, because you talk about this is what you got to do. Can you share a few of your exercises? Because they're so good. No, they're good. They're really good.
An example,
Yeah.
just because what would be like a situation that we want to focus on? Is it understanding the needs of our people? Or...
Yeah, let's go into that too. But I also think that you have a high turnover. You bring people through. Golf courses not necessarily always have a lot of time to train people.
Yep.
Like, what's some exercises that people can do when they're bringing these younger staff on, and their way to coach them is completely different than maybe you've done in the past. What's some exercises that people can do to get really connected with their staff?
Great question. And one thing, and this is moving on the spot. So we do have, and we'll offer up a bunch of support materials, videos, assets through Cisco and stuff that you can just access and hopefully help your course. But the one thing that we want to do is we want a clear definition of how does your course win in 2022. So right now, I'll get booed probably on this call and by people watching it, but I'm in Toronto, going to the Leafs game Saturday. The Leafs know exactly what success looks like. Getting it kicked out at the first round of the playoffs means failure. Winning the cup means success. But when your team knows, does your hospitality team, your entire staff know what do we need to achieve to be successful this year? And revenue and profitability are a result of human behavior. So they're usually they're a measurement and they're important. And I stand behind COGS, I stand behind profitability and revenue. But what do we want to do? What do we stand for? So how do you win this year? The other thing, if we want to get the most from your people, is I would have 3 bullets. So say it's a bar manager or a clubhouse manager. I would have 3 to 5 bullets of how are they going to be measured in order to be successful? What do they need to do? Because the most heartbreaking thing for Gen Y and Gen Z is I go into a club, a manager comes up to me and says, Matt, we've met, I'm killing it. I'm so happy. I love it here. I think I'm doing a great, I'm really working hard. And then I go into the boardroom with the leadership team and they say, that person's a really good manager, but they're just doing the wrong stuff. And the challenge, it's heartbreaking for the manager. It's crushing for them. And it's extremely frustrating for the course manager who usually tolerates it for the season and just goes on to the next season. So the opportunity to close that gap is, do people know exactly what's expected of them? We don't need big, long descriptions. Just here's what I need you to, here are your must-dos. Do these 3 or 5 things relentlessly, consistently every week. And then the other 30 hours a week, because those things shouldn't take their whole week, then do ops. I trust you, do your job. Do what you do best. But these are the things that I'm going to measure to be successful. And then the next stage, the next exercise that I would do for all courses, again, from bag drop, pro shop to your hospitality outlets, their events, or through your clubhouse, is how are you coaching your service strategy? And a lot of us has 8, 12, 15 step, 22 page manuals on this process. With my clients, we create a single page. What are the 3 things we're looking to do with every single member guest that comes through the course? And if we wanted to break that down, how do we welcome them? So what's the first interaction look like at all points? What's the first interaction? Bag drop, pro shop, clubhouse, halfway shack, whatever it is. What's the core of your experience? So what's the middle, while they're on the course or while they're grabbing lunch? And then how do we close the experience? How do we give them a reason to come back to our course? So we keep it simple, but it doesn't matter where you work. It could be a manager or an entry-level position who just joined the course. But what are the 3 things we're looking to do in every interaction with our guests for every experience? Because simplicity gets executed. Again, with the sign, it's easy to make things complicated. The opportunity here is, how do you simplify your execution strategy? And when you do that, people will buy in, and we can consistently lead and manage it. So I think that with everything you have in front of you, with increased golfers, increased demand, restrictions being removed across the country, it's an exciting time. Mm-hmm. If we can create more clarity and more simplicity for your team this year, you will have an operation that's just not so hard. You'll have an operation that won't put so much pressure on the people on this call. Because when we get overcomplicated, who it hurts most are the people watching that are engaging with Cisco, that are doing webinars. Because you're the one replacing manager, staff, or filling in when there's gaps. So simplicity is the key to, in my experience, success this year.
Yeah, and I love that insight and strategy, because with golf courses, it is seasonal. So you do have a lot of that transient staff coming through. So you're 100% bang on. You keep it really simple. The KISS philosophy is, we always love that. But it's true. You keep it simple. You get the buy-in. And then hopefully you can get that retention back for the following season with those staff members, because they do have that ingrained now. So Matt, how do you think people are dealing with this return to work? Because as we know, a golf course, it's very physical. You need to really be there. You can't really work from home, and can't really have that hybrid model. So how do you think a lot of these courses are going to be dealing with that? And especially, as you mentioned, having a lot of, younger leadership that do understand that necessity to kind of have that crossover and say, I want to work a couple days from home. I want to work at the clubhouse, but you have tournaments, you have members coming, you have public coming, there's constant movement. So how do you think these clubhouses are going to kind of work around that?
Yeah, and I think like we look at clubhouse or total operation, and I smiled there because this has been the focal point, as where I travel all over North America, but I'm from Toronto, and it came up in sessions this week, and it's how do we make the transition back? And if anybody wants to look into this, Brene Brown just put out a great podcast. Who's one of my favorite thought leaders on the planet. I've got a little bit of a crush on Brene Brown. Don't tell my wife, but she's incredible. One of her podcasts is called The Great Awkward. And the great awkward means like, this is when people that have been in the workplace, we're reintegrating, we're a little bit unsure. So what does it look like? But if we want to, again, just have a strategy, if you're going to bring your people back and change the expectation, which in my belief, I like a hybrid model, but I'm a big believer, especially in the demands on a course, that we need connection and community. COVID stole connection and community from us. I'm very big on tribe and the power of when we're working on something together, great things can happen. And we can do that virtually. But if you're going to bring your people back 3 days, 5 days, 7 days a week, the expectation is we're back in the office. I think the opportunity is not just to say, this is what we're doing, really slow down to explain why. And it's not, we need you back in the office because we reopened and that was what we did before. That answer is going to get met with resistance from your people. It's because when we're together, we communicate differently. A leader said this brilliantly to me the other day, and they were pretty rattled with this. They said, the challenge right now is when we're virtual, we're always in the heat of it. It's always like right in operations. There's no breather. There's no human connection. There's no, how are your kids? How's your golf game? There's no, how was school? So we're missing connection. That allows us to gear down a little bit and just connect. We're doing work, but we're human beings who like to stay connected. That's how we're designed. So I think the side is now is just, if you're going to get them to come back, don't miss the anchor. And the anchor in the ship around the strategies, you need to really slow down and explain why it's important your team comes back now. What's going to happen. And the last thing I'll say on this, it is our obligation not to be safe. So meaning follow COVID protocols, but to make our people feel safe.
Yeah.
And I would take that pressure off the leaders. And I apologize, I'm passionate about this. I'll stop ranting on the subject. I would have a small committee, 3-5 people on your team that are focused for the rest of the season, because there will be, we're through this, but we're to the next chapter of this. Yeah. So how are your staff building a strategy so your people feel safe? They feel safe mentally and they feel safe physically from COVID and the pandemic. And if we can make them feel safe, then the walls will come down. But stand by your decision, just explain why. And the more we're connected virtually or hopefully in person, the more powerful we are as a collective team.
Matt, first of all, that's I use that line a lot, is just making your people feel safe. Because really, when you look at that within any leadership position, if you have people that work underneath you, just making them feel safe would just it will blow your mind on what they'll do for you. And that's all you got to do. Just make them feel safe. And I think it's a Simon Sinek line.
Well,
it's definitely not mine. It's too good to be mine. So
no, I won't give it to you today.
But it's creating that safety culture, right?
It really is, because most people worry about so many things outside, outside of work, that if they can just go to work and just feel safe, they don't have to worry about their job, worry what they're doing, especially with these additional worries of COVID and everything else. It makes a big difference. It really does. It's huge. But before we get into this, I got to break to a quick commercial, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to wrap it up and get Matt's final thoughts on some of this stuff. So anyways, let's roll that, Katie.
At Lynch Foods, we're passionate about flavor. As a Canadian custom manufacturer, we've been developing high-quality products for our customers for over 80 years. sauces, dressings, gravy and soup mixes, toppings and syrups for ice cream and milkshakes, all in packaging ranging from individual portions to retail and bulk formats. For food service, healthcare, or as industrial ingredients, our processing expertise, innovation kitchen, and research and development team partner to create and provide solutions. Our excellent customer service, world-class certified food safety standards, and experienced nationwide sales force can support your business locally, be a trusted partner, and inspire endless possibilities.
Welcome back, everyone, to Cisco's Virtual Kitchen Golf Pregame Show. Food, tons, lots of it. Leadership killer coach, Matt. Matt, first of all, if you follow Matt, so we're going to get some of Matt's credentials up on the bottom here. Hint, Katie, I'm texting you that right now. But we're going to put Matt's stuff up here where you can learn more about what Matt does and all the great stuff and information that he has. You should follow Matt if you aren't right now on LinkedIn. He's posting amazing. Were you on the streets yesterday, Matt? I noticed this week.
Yeah. I've been out with clients a lot, so there's a lot more. It's great to be back out.
It's great, eh?
Yeah,
it's nice. I can't wait either. But anyways, we're talking today really around leadership, golf courses. Matt's giving us some great ideas and great information. Matt, what's the one thing right now that if you could say to golf courses right across this country that they need to just focus on to have the best season they're going to have? Because I think they're going to have the best season they've ever had this year. You've given some amazing insights and information today. What's that one thing you want to leave with them knowing from today's call or today's call, video, show, streaming thing, podcast, you name it?
I think that we've covered a lot, but one thing that I want to challenge in a different way, because what we've spent this conversation talking about is our member guest, and what we often work on, what's our commitment to our member guest? How do we create a great experience? But based on retention challenges and attraction challenges for courses, one question I get you to ask yourself is, what is your promise to your people? So we have to, what's our commitment to our guests? What's our commitment and our promise to our people this year? So if we want them to stay with us, as I know from my experience, stay with us for the entire season, so they don't jump out in August and we're not short through August and September and October. But from our side is, what's your commitment to your people this year? So they feel supported. They feel that you're communicating with them. They feel they understand the goals. They understand what's expected of them. They understand the why it matters. And I know Charlotte said we got a swear jar, but when it comes to your goals, why should your staff give a shit? Excuse my language, Jay, but why should that new staff member that has the chance to jump out of July and go back to school or August or go get another job, because there's 7% of jobs in Canada right now are open, so there's less employees, more choice for them. They have the leverage. We need to operate in a new way. Get a clear couple sentences that your management, we're going to compensate them this way. We're going to coach them, support them, train them this way. We're going to develop them this way. Don't overcommit. Just whatever you're going to do, simplicity and relentless and consistent execution. I know it's a bit cheesy with the sign hanging over my head right now, but whatever you decide to do, simplicity and just communicate and execute. Because who deserves it? This year doesn't need to be as hard for the leaders watching this as it was last year. And a lot of us are just used to making things difficult and hard based on what we've come through. But our past doesn't need to be this season. It doesn't need to be our future. It can be easier. You have to design it with intention. It won't happen by fluke. It happens by design.
That's deep, eh, Charlotte?
Oh God, my mind.
Was it? Did you blow my mind all the time?
Yeah, what fantastic insight. I mean, there's so much quality information that you provided, Matt, that I can even take back to my team, and we can start working through some of that as well. As I said, my mind is absolutely blown. You're a brilliant mind, Matt. Brilliant
That's
mind.
heavy. That's easy. I hope my team's listening to this now. I think my team
exactly.
No, and I really appreciate that you have that communication that's very clean. I love clean communication. Yeah. Everything that you've said today has completely resonated, and it's been ingrained into me, just the way you present it. So just amazing, Matt.
And here's the challenge. here's the challenge to those out there, because the most valuable resource we have right now is time. So if you gave 52 minutes for it's listening to me, Jay, and Charlotte's talk, is I want you to be selfish. What's one thing that you heard that you can act on? What's one thing you heard, because we talked about 22 different things, and you're going to hear another 100 today, as you should. That's the intention of these exercises, but you have to commit to taking action. And I like speaking. It's what I do for a living. What I care about are the leaders that are watching this, and I want to help you do something different. We're not selling anybody anything here. If there's something you heard, guest avatars, how you win statements, promise to your employees, contact me through LinkedIn. They might put my email up, email me direct. We can get it up now or we get it up later. You can go through the website. We have assets, resources, video content to support you. We're not just out there talking what I care about. If I do this talk and nobody does anything different, I failed. I failed myself. I failed you and my team. I'm committed to not doing that. Let's do different to get the results we want and deserve.
There you go. Just like that, Charlotte. And and you can get Matt's book. Matt, you can get this on Amazon.
Yep.
Right? People, you got to get, so anyone in the restaurant industry in Canada, golf courses, non-golf courses, whoever's listening to this, literally, I've read a lot of books in this industry, my gazillion years doing this stuff. This is the best one. Seriously, not to make y'all fluffy, Matt, but it's really good. Like literally, it's awesome. So please reach out and get it. It's really, really awesome. It's got some great things in there. The tips and exercises and information that Matt provides in that book is beyond valuable. It's just incredible, really cool. And then Katie's going to put up Matt's website on the bottom there. Go to it. There's so much great information there. And Matt, thank you so much, man, to just being on the show today and just sharing your insights on leadership and golf courses. And just thank you so much for what you're doing for our industry. It's outstanding, and I'm so glad I've met you over these last few months, and
I am too.
And just unbelievable. And we're so excited to have Matt part of our Cisco Advantage program with Cisco, as well as we roll that out fairly soon, and you'll be able to utilize Matt with your team as soon. And please do. He's incredible. He's one of the best.
Thank you for the opportunity, and good luck for the rest of the day. I can't wait to watch from my end. So
you might want to tune in. You think it's crazy now? It's not even started yet. The Red Bull hasn't kicked in yet.
But you got to pick it up. Charlotte's carrying you here in this first hour, but you got to pick it up. You got a full day.
I know. I got
Charlotte's shoulders for the day. You got it. You
got a lot of energy drinks.
I think I get the rest of the day, and Jay'll just hang back.
Yeah, Charlotte's doing some
I have a feeling about a lot about food talk and food trends, so it'll be a lot of fun. It's
going to be a lot of fun. So Matt, thank you so much. Everyone else that's going to be tuning in today, 11 o'clock, Katie, make sure I do this right. 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and 3 o'clock today. We have 1 hour food shows. We have over 16 vendors who are going to show tons of product ideas. Like we said, and it's not going to be your typical chicken fingers and fries ideas. These are going to be fresh ideas for your golf courses, for the halfway house, for your caddy shack, you name it. It's going to be outstanding ideas. Just so everything that Matt talked about today, you can be able to, when it comes to menu ideas and trends, we're going to give you a ton of new ones that you can use on your menus today. So that's all day. And then we're going to rerun this tonight. Matt, just so you know, you can sit down on your TV and watch this later tonight. We're going to have it on our channels as well. And then we're going to rerun this all today's show later this evening as well. But over the weekend, we're going to rerun this as well on Saturday reruns, right? We do Saturday rerun shows. And then we're going to have this on demand on Cisco Canada's YouTube page, as well as our Facebook page. So you can go there, watch as much as you want. You can binge watch as much as you want, but we've got the most amount of content in the industry ever on the SVK network. So thank you so much, Matt. And Charlotte, thank you. I apologize now because it's going to be a long day with me. We're going to have lots of fun and really help our customers and our industry out when it comes to golf courses.
Absolutely. That's what we're here to do. So
awesome.
Great chat this morning.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Katie, you can roll that outro anytime you want to.